So first and foremost, towards the end of the webinar, we will provide the link for attendance for certificate purpose. So all participants can go to the comment section and stay tuned until the end of the webinar to click on the link provided in the comment section to acquire your certificates. Secondly, if you have any questions, kindly type your questions in the comment section and I will read your questions to our speaker to be answered later on. And thirdly, kindly mute your speaker and switch off your video during the webinar session. So today I was given the honour to moderate today's webinar session entitled Research in Paediatric Dentistry that will be given by our own APD Treasurer, Dr. Farinawati Yazid. So Dr. Farinawati Yazid is a lecturer, is a senior lecturer in Universiti Kebangsaan Malaysia. She has been invited as a national and international speaker in various conferences and she has also secured multiple national and internal research grants. So she is the best person to give this talk to us today. So without further ado, I would invite Dr. Farinawati to proceed with her lectures today. To you, Dr. Farina.
Thank you, Dr. Rosie, for the kind introduction. In this fasting Ramadan, I hope everybody is still okay. I know you all just finished your clinic. I'm here just to share some of few of my knowledge on how to do research. It is something that we should look forward to in spite of being a clinician. Okay, just hold on. I will share you my slides. Okay. All right. Okay. Dr. Rosie, can you see my slide, Dr. Rosie?
Yes, we can see your slide.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. The research. Okay. Research in pediatric dentistry. How to begin? I'm just giving some tips and tricks on how to start the research, especially for the young officers. Okay. For those who don't know me, I think I'm sure everybody ada ni. Like Dr. Rosie mentioned earlier, I'm a lecturer and pediatric dentist from UKM. My passion is in doing research as well. Okay. Alright, so this afternoon session, I'll be covering about why do we need to do research? Why do you do your research? And what are the roles in doing research? I mean, individual roles. Who are they who involved in doing the research? What are the requirements that you need to have? The tools that will help you and the search engine that you must be familiar with. And then we'll go by steps and how to begin, okay? All right. Okay. This is something that before we do anything, regardless of any activities, for research, to me, the intention and motivation is very important. Being clinician is very can take a lot of our time. Apart from that, as you climb up the ladder as a specialist, not just you have to be a good clinician, but you also have to be a good administrative. Okay. So why do you do research? Okay, some people might answer that normal cliche saya menurut perintah. Of course, this is something that your superior given your orders. Okay, you have to do this. We need to find out about this. Okay, and some find the reasons of doing research out of curiosity and passion. For example, you want to know, does this treatment works for this patient? Or why is this happening to this patient? Okay, so the curiosity is actually helped you to drive in doing the research and also your passion. Okay. And for the young officers, probably you need to do research for scholarship interviews. I think nowadays, scholarship interview, placement university interviews, they would ask your background in doing research. Okay. Last time when I was when I was being interviewed, I think the CV was like 5 or 10 pages, but nowadays they come in books. Okay, so the expectation is more. And apart from that, a research component has also been put in the interview sessions that we will ask, what is your background? Okay, and for the seniors, for the specialists, I think They are doing this for promotions, and some are doing for service improvement in their departments. Okay, so how can we improve our service here? What should we do? And for the students, more or less, you are doing the research for exam requirements. Okay, and apart from that, this is the why part. I mean, your now why too before you're doing the research. These are the common things that we heard of. Okay, and some of the challenges, that barriers. Okay, there might be individuals with the perceptions that clinicians should not do research. On how dealing this kind of individual is just smile and try to find someone else that can help to guide you. Okay, there are still that I don't disagree of clinician doing research, and also reasons about no funding, no suitable mentor, too busy cleaning or administrative duties. Okay, these are the challenges and the barriers before you begin your own research. By the end of the day, I do believe that for whatever the reason is, you have to take it positively. Okay, this is something that if you have to do, but if you turn out into something that positive, you can change it into interesting learning process. Okay, and one of the things that I've learned in my experience is that try to maneuver yourself away from the challenges that can block your research. Okay, the challenges is there, the individual that will being a big building block is there. Okay, but you need to find a way on how to get away yourself from that. Okay, and the one thing that I've learned is that you need to reach out to the ones that can facilitate your journey. Okay, probably somebody seniors or probably someone from different discipline, whoever that you think that might help, that is somebody that you need to approach. Okay, all right, so these are the roles I'm talking about. Before you start your research, you need to identify yourself. What are your roles in your research? Okay, first of all, you are should be an investigator or researcher. Okay, and the main thing is, are you a primary investigator, or we call it as PI or co-investigator? Okay, primary investigator, or known as main researcher, is somebody that initiate the research, lead the research, and make sure the research up to the end. Okay, so PI comes with the huge responsibilities because they have to design the studies together with the co-investigators. Some of them try to find funding and later on report it in publications. Okay, so PI is a great responsibility, but it's very good that you learn. And one of the things that my friend did say that primary investigator is also a manager. Okay, so you manage your research. Okay, all right, or you consider yourself as co-investigator or co-researcher. Okay, co-investigator or co-researcher sometimes they are in the research because the PI or the main researcher invited them in. Okay, some of the expertise are being from the co-investigator that can help to make the research works. Okay, so for example, let's say we are doing in pulpotomy treatment. Okay, so you need the clinicians, of course. You need the basic science people because you want them to contribute on understanding why does the treatment works. So the primary investigator can be the clinicians, and the co-investigators are the scientists in pharmacology or in microbiology. Okay, so these are the things that you need to understand before you design your research. Another terminology that you might find, this one mainly for universities, they will find that supervisors, okay? It's either your main supervisors ataupun your co-supervisors. Okay, do bear in mind, whatever it is, the role does not necessarily means one person should be, what I meant is, the individual not necessarily have to be, he is the investigator, he is the supervisor, okay? So it can actually be either or it can be both. It depends on the individual capability to go on with the research. Okay, so do bear in mind, sometimes when people invite you to become part of the team, it depends on what are the senses in the beginning. Am I the researcher, or am I the researcher together with the supervisors? Supervisors also come with huge responsibility towards the students. Okay, so they have to make sure that the students not just doing the research, but the things that they have, the requirements, the writing up thesis, the conduct of the research. Okay, so um, supervisors is also one of the another responsibility, and also together with the investigator. Okay, co-supervisors helps the main supervisors in monitoring the students as well, the progress, the performance, any hurdles that might have. Okay, and some of the students might need um, step back and think, okay, what have you done? Okay, where is the what do you think that we can do to improve your progress? Okay, so supervisors they not just tackle the research part, but they also need to understand their students and help them to motivate them to go further. Okay, all right, acknowledgement. Okay, there are free riders, or I'm not talking about acknowledgement means that you acknowledge somebody or institution that helps in doing a research. They are not a researcher, they're not investigator, and also they're not supervisors. For example, you are saying thank you to KKM. Okay, so KKM allow us to do research in their facility. So we acknowledge KKM to allow us to do the research in the facility. Or you acknowledge the funder. We acknowledge certain grants for giving the funding to this research. Okay, so the acknowledgement is very important, because these are the things that at the end of the publication or in the beginning they will ask, is there anybody that helps you with the research? Okay, so that is roles. Okay, all right, so the requirements. Okay, what do you need to have before you start your research? Okay, I'm sure some of the young officers are not familiar with the words GCP, GLP, GMP, NMR. What is this? Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, okay, the main is you should look here, good clinical practice. Okay, it's already a requirement that primary investigator must have a GCP, or good clinical practice. It is actually a workshop where you will have your lectures, they will train you, and they will have an exam. Okay, do bear in mind, if you don't pass the exam, you have to retake the exam again. Okay, so this course, if I'm not mistaken, will cost about 500 to 600. And I think when you retake the exam again, it's slightly less. Okay, that's why if the young officers or any other specialists are being given the opportunity to go funded, might as well raise your hand and go for it. Okay, so it's very important. This is once in a lifetime course. The certificate is very valuable. If I'm not mistaken, they say once you lost it, I'm not sure whether they can give you a copy, but it's not as nice as the one that you get earlier. Okay, so GCP certificate is very valuable to you as a researcher. Okay, so do keep it well, and you also need to study well for the exams. Okay. Okay, so what is GCP? It's actually International Ethical and Scientific Quality Standard for designing, conducting, recording, reporting clinical research that involve human subjects. Okay, so GCP is very important because it shows you what are the ethical standards that you are allowed to do a research in human. They will teach you how to design, how to conduct, and also valuable subjects. For example, children, special need children, students. So these are the things that you need to be aware of before you design the studies. With knowledge, you know what is right and wrong to do research. Okay? Sorry. Okay, belum puasa ni. Okay, the other one is National Medical Research Register. Okay, NMR is actually part of research registration in the Ministry of Health. Okay, it applies to all the personnel that in MOH or individual that are interested to do research with MOH. Okay, so you need to register your research in their website and follow the requirements that has been required. This one is MOH facilities. Okay, MOH facilities, MOH individual, collaboration with MOH. Okay, but if you're doing a research in the institution, it is enough for you to apply ethics if you involve human ethics or animal ethics, or you can actually work with the universities through legal documents. For example, your letter of intent, your memorandum of understanding, your MOUs, or even your memorandum of agreement, MOAs. Okay, so you need to understand, am I doing research in MOH or in the universities? Okay, or even you can do outside. What I'm trying to say is community project in the kindergartens, but you are under who? That is very important. Okay. All right, GLP and GMP is actually something that I just want to share. It's not something that you have to, you must have. Okay, uh, unless a very another level of research, good laboratory practice, or we call them as GLP. It's actually a quality system of organization process which non-clinical health studies are planned, performed, monitored, recorded, archived, and reported. Okay, so this is actually a certificate to the lab showing that they are GLP or GLP verified. Okay, there'll be a government bodies that will run. I'm not sure annually or once in a while they will do some checking of the labs and monitor and certify the lab. Okay. Good manufacturing practice is actually applied to the manufacturing companies to ensure that their products are consistently produced and controlled according to quality of standards. So more or less, we are talking about drugs companies or any companies that must have a GMP certified. Okay. So the important thing for you all is any GCP. Okay. Doing MOH facility, this one and this one. Okay. Okay. Alright. Sorry tengah azan. Kejap ya. Okay. Alright. So these are the tools that you must have in before doing your research ataupun ongoing research. Okay. So the first one is your SPSS. Okay. This one is a statistical analysis software. It is good for you to have, but the thing is, if you are individual person, I think I'm not sure the cost is a bit expensive, but if you are in institution or even MOH has the facility for you to download for free, might as well you just use the request for SPSS download. Okay. Okay. EndNote and Mendeley here, this one, EndNote, Mendeley are two a similar software in managing citations and references. Okay. Based on what I understand, Mendeley is actually free, but it's not cloud-based. It means that you downloading it in your computer. EndNote, you can access anywhere, but it comes with a fee. Okay, so whatever the preference is, give a try. I think both of them have 14 days trial. You can try either Mendeley or EndNote to help you with the citation. Okay. Why do we need software for citation? Okay, for example, at the end of your when your research is completed, you are doing your thesis write-up, you are doing your publication. Okay, so some journals, they have very different requirements of how their references should be in the list and also in the text. Okay, so the common ones would be the your APA citation style, your Harvard style. So when you have this, it's easier that you just can click a button that can automatically change everything. Okay. All right. So that will be your EndNote and Mendeley. And then either one of this citation, you can actually insert the ones that you want to quote. Okay. So I have no preference. Mendeley pun okay, EndNote pun okay. Right. Turnitin. Okay. Turnitin also good to have. Because we need to monitor, especially when you okay, Trinity is a plagiarism detection. Okay, when you write a publication, you must be able to okay, for those not familiar, plagiarism means you copy paste the exact word from somebody else. For example, you have paper A. So paper A was saying, this is a story about clinical treatment. Okay, so the individual copy the exact sentence and put it in their own manuscript. Okay, so the plagiarism will detect. So it's a software. Then again, the same thing. As individual, if it will, you need to pay for the software. If you're under institution or the facility do give, then you can download in your computer. Okay, so these are the tools that you need to have to help in your research. Okay, plagiarism, usually they will give you figures. Okay, what is acceptable figures is actually less than 30%. Okay, it's not like we want zero plagiarism. We do accept some of plagiarism in the, it's not plagiarism actually, it's actually sometimes when you copy paste the whole sentences, for example, the title of the questionnaire, so it will count it for. Okay, so that's why 30% and less is still acceptable. Okay, all right, so these are the tools. Okay, okay, search engine. Okay, uh, I'm not sure how you are, but I just explain what are the available search engines that you should have and understand. Okay, I think the common one, people are been using Google Scholar. Okay, so Google Scholar, okay, you can actually find, actually at the end of here, they will show you whether they have full text or not. Okay, one thing that I would like to highlight about this Google Scholar, okay, when you do your research, always use papers that preferably not more than 5 years. Oh, kalau 10 years pun, it depends lah. But usually you will try to find a 5 years paper that from 2021. So the 5 years is back is 2016. If you notice the button here, nanti you can try yourself. Anytime since 2021, since 20 and 27. Okay. Try to click since 2017 or 2016. Okay, you want the latest publication in finding out what is the gap on this research. Okay, so we don't, the reason we don't go for old papers, because we might never know that the problem has been solved now, but because you are based your research based on the old papers, this is why the justification may no longer be valid. Okay, for example, in 2003, this is what people reported. However, the problem has been solved in 2015. But because you didn't search the earlier paper, you go for the old papers, so you will create some sort of, is your research still relevant for this time? Okay, so the time is very important. Okay, this is a Google Scholar. Okay, other engine that you can use is PubMed. Okay, PubMed, you can play around now simple research, or you can go advanced research. At the end to the advanced research. To use advanced research, I'm not sure whether I can try a bit more. We'll see time. If still have time, I will show you how to use the PubMed. Okay. Scopus. Scopus is also important search engine. Okay, but then again, Scopus it should be under it's a paid. You have to log in. Okay, I mean not log in. You have to register so that you can actually use the Scopus. Okay, PubMed and Google Scholar are freely available. Okay, Web of Science and Scopus, you have to register, and if you are registered under institution, you can get most of the access that you have. Okay, so this is Scopus, this is Web of Science, more or less similar. You can put in your keywords and then you can search. So these are the search engine. Okay, the policy of research, I mean, in finding papers, number one, it must be not more than 5 years. Okay, number two, does the papers have full text or not? If you don't have full text, then you can request for full text from, for example, in the institution, it's fine. They can request from their library. From the KKM, I'm not sure whether they have the facility or not, but you can actually, I think this one maybe perlu input daripada KKM, how to gain a full text access. Okay? Alright, okay. That's actually what the earliest is about, preparing yourself before doing research. The why of doing the research, what are the tools, what are the search engine, understanding the roles of of the individual in the research. Okay. Now is actually how do you start your research? Okay. First thing is topic of interest. Okay. Topic of interest can be very tricky. Okay. It's not what your interest is, actually the interest should be based on, should be in line with the worldwide or a nationwide direction or policy. It's not that, today I would like to find out about this disease. Okay, it can, because actually boleh, but you must actually based on what other people are trying to solve, what are the world trying to solve. Okay, not just one small problems. Okay. All right. Okay. We have our World Health Organization. Okay, World Health Organization has put in a sustainable development goals. I will show you what are the goals and where do we fit in the goals. Okay, this is very important, especially for the researchers or the clinician that are interested to apply funding. Okay, when you write grants, they will always say that what are the government policies that that your research is based on. So you have to be very knowledgeable of the nationwide and worldwide directions and the policies, and also national plan, policies or guidelines that are available. This research is based on directive or policy by what are the national plan. Okay, and also we can also base the research based on the states. What is your state's requirement? What is your hospital requirement, or what is the institution KPI? Okay, this year the theme is about what? Okay, so then you have to do the research based on the theme. Okay, it's not that rigid. It's actually you have to match your interest, but you have to tune in to the policies and directions of the worldwide and the nations. Okay, all right. So this is one based on the policy, the worldwide and the nationwide. What do they want for the researcher to do? Another thing to look at is the funder requirement. Okay, funder requirement is somebody to give you money to do research. Okay, either from corporate, either from the government, personnel. I'm not sure. Okay, it depends. Some of the funder they want a fundamental research. Okay, so just now I was talking about pulpotomy, right? Okay, so fundamentally means the research you want to study about the effect of this certain pulpotomy drugs on your clinical. Okay, all right. So the fundamental is what is the pathway, the signals, what are the cells involved. So to the very end that you need to understand. So this is how you choose the topic for your research. What is what is the funder requirement? Translational research means that um, you must be able to when you do your research, you must be able to translate it into a product or translate it into uh, a policy or a guideline. So it has to be a translational research. Or you can have a community research. Okay, community research is actually good for you to combine with the NGOs. For example, your CMB Foundation, your Yayasan Hasanah Foundation. Okay, so they do want that kind of community projects where oral health can also be part of the research of their. I mean that you coexist together. You work with the foundations. Okay, what kind of community project that you can offer? For example, caries detection in children, oral health of the children of the special needs. For example, the autism's groups, the Down syndrome's group. Okay, so you can do these community projects. And the other one is the companies of interest. Okay, uh, the reason I'm saying that some companies they look for their what they call CSR, the community. Uh, okay, I need to find out CSR. CSR. Okay, so they want to something like impactful CSR to them, not just a simple CSR. So maybe they invite you. Can you join us to do our CSR? We would like to check the oral health status of the employees of me. At the same time, it's not just one off. You can actually try to tweak it into a research. Okay, for example, okay, I need to find out about what you can do a prevalence study or epidemiological study for this one. Okay, all right, the benefits. Okay, what the topic of interest for your research? Does it benefit the whole population, the whole world will benefit, or you want to look at targeted population? This research mainly will benefit the children. This research will benefit the elderly or the medically compromised children. Okay. Um, Usually this is what they want. At the end of the study, what is the outcome? What does the impact of the study? Impact to who? Impact to children or impact to the special children? So you need to understand that. So choosing okay. So this is what I say. Choosing the topic of interest, you must be able to consider all this, not just today I want to find out about this. Okay, you must be able to turn it into in line with the others. Okay. Alright, so this is the one that I'm talking about, the WHO, the Sustainable Development Goals. Number one, and they have 1 until 17, but most of the time our research is based on SDG number 3, good health and well-being. If you look in the WHO website, they have clarified a bit more in maternal and child health. Okay, so we can actually put our dental health in children under SDG number 3. Okay, unless you are interested to work with other collaborators looking at all those other SDGs, might as well go ahead. For example, the institution, maybe the lecturers would like to look into quality education. So you falls under SDG number 4. Okay. Okay, so I think this is about SDG. You can look at number 3 and number 4 under the WHO websites. Okay, or even like I said, a national policies, or what do they want. Okay, so we do have NORI. I take this from the OHD website, National Oral Health Research Initiative. From here, what I gather is their research interest is actually on burden of disease. In oral disease, I think this one is about caries in preschool children, community health interventions, what are the projects that are being done and how to measure it, and also the oral cancers research. And they also look into health system or healthcare services. So this is what I said. When you do your research, which does it falls? Is it under WHO SDG number 3 or number 4, or you actually trying to sing your research in the NORI of what is the NORI aims? Okay. Alright. Baru step number 1. Punya dah lama. Okay. Going to step number 2. Type of research. Okay. This one you have to sit down, do some homework and study to understand. Okay. I hope it's not too small for you to read. Okay. Research. What are the research available? There are so many research in the world. You don't know where to start. Okay. But don't worry. Always start to think first. You do some reading. Okay. The first one is data obtained. A type of research. They divide it into data obtained, time, type of data, depth of scope, and also the purpose. Okay, data obtained, documents. Documents, we are not talking about your audits. Okay, audit I will cover later. Documents, we are talking about freely accessible information. For example, your journals. Okay. Uh, One of my lovely students is doing systematic reviews on health economics. So what she would do is that she needs to read all the papers, and then she needs to follow a certain checklist and register with a certain websites to say that all the papers in the world are saying what. Okay, so that is the simplest available data that you have. You sit down and you study the papers. Okay. Or data obtained from the field means that you go out. Like I said, the community service earlier. You go out, you examine the child. Okay, you don't just examine, but try to think of how can I turn this into research. For example, you are looking into um, epidemiological study of children, oral health status children with different economic groups. You have B40, M40, and T20. So you want to see. Of course, as we know, B40 might has some problems. Then you have to add a bit more, a surveys. What could be the reasons of this happening? Okay. Oh, sorry. Forget the. Sorry. Okay. And then you have your laboratory study. So laboratory study, more or less, is you be in the lab and trying to understand. Okay. Sorry for the sound. Okay. And also you can have your mixed method. Okay, mixed method ni, I didn't notice, sorry, this one sepatutnya kat bawah. Okay, mixed method saying about you are doing uh, combined study together. Okay, I will explain this one further. Okay, another second one will be your degree manipulation of variables. For example, your experimental study. Experimental study is actually a laboratory study. So if you see that, it's actually is how you term your research are doing. More or less is more or less is the same. So experimental study is actually laboratory study. Non-experimental study, it can be an observational. You do your apa? Your community service just now. You observe what is the prevalence, what is the epidemiological in your clinics. Okay, so you want to see what is the prevalence in the state, combining different centers. You want to see in hospital A, hospital B, hospital C in in Klang Valley. Okay, so then you find out what's going. That is the observational. Okay. Alright, in terms of time, longitudinal and cross-sectional, what does it mean? Longitudinal means you follow the patients. Okay, for example, maybe 2 time point or 3 time point. In day 0, you see the patient, you examine the child. Okay, this patient have this patient have this, and this. Okay, 6 months later after review, okay, when you examine the child again, okay, then you compare the data. Okay, so this one you have to understand certain analysis that you need to do to compare between 2 time frame, or that is involving human. For example, if you're doing in the lab, okay, in day 1, in day 0, these are the cells. And then you introduce some chemicals. Okay, and then you follow, okay, for example, okay, you are looking at effect of fizzy drinks on the on the erosion of the tooth. Okay, so when you immerse the tooth in a saline, in artificial saliva in day 0. Okay, after that, then you add in fizzy water. Okay, and then you monitor day 7, day 10. Okay, so that is longitudinal or cross-sectional. Okay, sorry, that is longitudinal. Okay, and then we are talking about cross-sectional. Cross-sectional means you do one off. Okay, similar like I said, hospital A and hospital B and hospital C, we would like to see about a certain disease in one time frame. So you find out cross-sectional. Okay, type of data, quantitative, qualitative. So quantitative is something that you can, for example, you're doing questionnaire studies, right? So the questionnaires is a guided questionnaires. It has options A, B, C, D, or a Likert scale. Okay, so then you can quantify. Qualitative is qualitative needs a lot of training because you need to extract what people are saying. For example, people Mr. A are saying this, Mr. B are saying this, but when you analyze based on the team, more or less they're saying the same problem. Okay, for example, Mr. A say, I'm stressed with this, however I think that should do this, but Mr. B saying it's very difficult, I'm feeling anxious, sometimes I feel unsure, or maybe when you see the team, then sometimes you can, oh, okay, this one needs training. This is why I say qualitative needs training, because you need to understand what people are saying and extract the team. Okay. Alright, depth of scope. Okay. Saya kena laju sikit. Exploratory, excited sangat cerita pasal research. Fundamental, okay, this one is okay. If anyone not sure, you can feel free to email or WhatsApp me, I can explain further. Okay, at the end, I just want to say this. Clinical audit is not research. Why? Because it fit different purpose. Okay. When you do your clinical audit, it's actually you want to find out if your clinical practice is following the best practice. If research, you're actually trying to evaluate what you are doing in the clinic and compare with different practice that contribute to new knowledge. Okay, so this is what it means. Clinical audit too, you just follow. Am I following? Let's say you see that within how many minutes that you should be able to do this treatment. But when you do your audits, you actually take longer than that. So this is why clinical audit is to improve service based on the best practice. Research, you're actually comparing your treatment. Okay. Alright, so to find or not to find, okay, depends on the type of research. Research is, if you think that you might have, you need a lot of things to buy, a lot of commitments, then it would be nice to go find a fund. Okay, funder can be from international, national, internals, companies, NGOs, and personnel. Okay, but you need to follow the requirements of the funder. Okay. Okay, these are the available grants. This one is from the Ministry of Education. So they have their FRGS, TRGS, PRGS, LGS, and all those things. Okay, so you need to understand their requirements. Okay, and also we do have MOSTIs. Okay, MOSTI, they have grants, but you need to understand where does your research fit in. For example, this one, I think for us, it fit under medical and healthcare, or maybe in the institution lecturers, they want to try to education. So it is under IDANA MOSTI. Okay. All right. I think I'm going to the end. Okay, background search. Okay, you need to do some reading from the articles. You extract the information, gaps of knowledge. Okay, I'm sure the young officers has been listening about this. What is gap of knowledge? You need to find gap of knowledge. Gap of knowledge is actually when you do some reading, especially the 5 years paperback, what have they not achieved? What do you think that you can improve their techniques? Okay, sometimes some of the papers they put limitation of the study. So when they put the limitation of study, they're actually saying that I didn't do this, perhaps somebody else can do this, so to improve the research. Okay, and also when you do some reading, you need to see when you're designing your research, you need to have an idea. Okay, people are doing this. Oh, so this works. So this is actually help you to design and your method as well. When you're done, you need to do your proposal, your information sheet, and also your consent form. Okay. All right. At the end, I think this is almost ending. Okay. The very important thing is before you begin is I need to apply ethics. If you are using any human sample, not sample per se like saliva, teeth only, but if you are doing a research on human, you need to apply ethics, even if you are doing a questionnaire study, okay, or even animal study. So you have to apply research, okay. So ethics application, it depends on the institution, but you don't actually have to. For example, UKM nak minta ethics, UM nak minta ethics, UITM nak minta. No, you can actually apply from one institution. They can be actually used for all. But for MOH, I think they're a bit tricky. They had this MREC. This one you need to do some reading. What are the requirement of Research Ethics Committee? Okay. Like I said earlier, a PI, a primary investigator must have a GCP. This I'm just giving an example. In UKM, our human ethics is under Secretary of Research and Innovation, and our animal ethics is under UKM Animal Ethics Committee. Okay. Okay. Doing the research. Okay, so basically ada 6 lah. So semua dah prepare. Okay, last kali kita do your data collection, your questionnaire, your lab work, your field work. Okay, segala data collection you can do. And then the analysis. The analysis is actually another struggle. It will be nice that before you begin your research, you sit down with a statistician, you tell them, okay, this is my objective. Okay, and this is what are my proposed methodology. What is the suggested analysis that I should do? Okay, sometimes they will get, oh, I think this one you have to add some more on this data so that when you analyze, okay. And also apart from that, your sample size also need to be calculated correctly, okay. And at the end is your writing up for publication, okay. Yay, dah habis. Thank you for listening, everybody. I hope I've jumpstart everybody to do research. Okay, I'm MEPD is very happy to share our next webinar by Dr. Seva Kumar, Paediatric Nephrology from Selayang Hospital, and moderate by Dr. Yogesh. This will be on 26 May. Do block your calendars. Same time, same day, Wednesday, 1 to 2 p.m. Okay. The title will be announced in our next, in our social media. Okay. With that, thank you everybody. Back to Dr. Rosie.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Farina, for giving us an insight for us to dive into this research world. So, doing research is a way forward, and it should be become a culture for us clinicians as well. So, I'm sure your talk has given a push to our junior officers or specialists to dive into their journey in doing research. So, there's only one question from the participants. The question is, do case reports needs to register to NMRR?
Ooh. Okay, to be honest, I haven't studied much about this MMR and MRR. This why I think I can't answer yet. I don't know. Maybe Dr. Rosie has a better answer for this. And registering.
From my experience, actually case reports not like compulsory to register under NMRR, but I think they encourage to also register under NMRR. And if you are in MOH, there's certain protocols you have to follow, depends on states lah. For this is for Ministry of Health, but I think we will confirm this information later. I think we will answer it through our social media to confirm so that we don't give false information. So there's another two more questions here, Dr. Farina. Is it necessary to use only 5 years dated journal? I mean, is it really necessary to only use 5 years dated journals?
Okay, like I said earlier, okay, it's not like a must, okay, but it's good that when funder, when you are writing your reports, people understand that when you search your gap of knowledge or your problem of your research is actually based on the recent problems. What are the evaluators are not happy is that you are doing research based on the problem 10 years ago or 20 years ago, okay, but it can be mixed because sometimes you can justify yourself, this is the key paper, this is the one that found about this. Okay, so you want to cite that person. It's fine, but we don't want to have a constant. Like I said, the whole proposal or the whole publication is based on old papers. Is something that the evaluators are not very happy with. Okay, I think that should help. I think Dr. Rosie was saying was another question.
Yeah, actually there's two more questions. So this one is actually not for research. Participant was asking for clinic audit using a survey. I think this is clinical audit, but maybe Dr. Farina still can answer. Do we need to obtain patient consent for clinical audit using a survey?
Clinical audit, it depends on what you are looking at. If your clinical audit is actually you are trying to see how many cases that are you doing, how fast is your treatment time is. So you're actually answering your janji khidmat pelanggan. For example, the patient will be seen by this disease. Treatment will be done with this disease. Okay, so you are answering your khidmat pelanggan. So that one is okay. But let's say you are actually searching the records for, you are trying to find about how many treatments has been done so that you can translate the information into a research. This one, you don't actually, at the moment, all the data belongs to the institution or the facility. So you need to, that's why the ethics committee, that's why you need to apply your ethics application. Okay. If you are doing a survey that you need to call the patient, for example, from the records, you see that this patient has OKC, okay, but you want to interview the patient, okay? So then, after ethics approval, you have, before you interview the patient, you must give the patient information sheet and consent form saying that, do you allow me to question you about your disease? Okay, so there's a difference in that, okay? I hope that answers. Next one, Dr. Rosie, okay.
Okay, the last question from participant, and I have one question for myself. So last question from participant, for one participant was asking, because she's not confirmed whether does GCP really needed for observational study? Is it like she not confirmed for observational study? because she heard that it might not GCP might not required, but is it really not required?
Okay. GCP, like I said, is actually reflect to the researcher. It's not the type of the study. Okay. GCP is something that ethics committee will look at. Like I said earlier, primary investigator must have a GCP. Let's say you have a group of researcher in your team. You have about 5 of them. Not all 5 must have a GCP. Or the primary investigator must have a GCP, showing that to the ethics committee that you understand what is right and what is wrong from doing a research. But the other 4 not necessarily have to a GCP. Okay?
Um, I would like to ask also about the GCP.
Yes,
Okay,
Dr. Rosie.
because the
I hope
GCP,
I can.
I also was confused. GCP was like a compulsory thing to dive into research, right? For the primary investigator. But I've heard that it's only applicable if you're doing research that related to patients. But what about research that not relate to patients? Um, for example, if we do research about like lab or record keeping and things like that, do we really also need GCP for that? That doesn't relate with patients?
Okay. GCP, the context of GCP is actually human research. It doesn't matter what, as long as it involves human, you must have a GCP. For example, if you have a veterinary, they are doing research on the animal, so they don't have to apply GCP. It's not within their bread and butter because they don't look into human, they look into animals. Okay,
Okay.
or in the lab study, for example, you are doing a cell, but be very careful. The cell doesn't belong to human. For example, the cell that you bought from the company. Okay, so you don't have to have a GCP. Okay, so this is what I said. GCP is actually meant for if you're doing for research in human people. Okay, so I hope that's okay, Dr. Rosie.
Okay. I think I think Dr. Farina has answered many questions. Thank you so much, Dr. Farina, for your sharing your knowledge and experience into about conducting a research. And for that, I thank you. And with that, I thank you everyone also. And
Thank
hope
you,
to see.
everyone.
Thank you so much. So hope to see you again next week. Next week, right? Dr. Farina,
Okay,
is it
next
next
one.
week? The other
Next one.
next month, sorry, next month
Aduh, lazim lah, Dr.
for
Rosie.
another MAPD webinar. Okay, thank you everyone. Don't forget to fill in your attendance form. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.